Thank you, Ms. Menkiti.
Good evening, Chairman and members of the Council. I'm here today to share my support of Bill 22663, the Comprehensive Plan Amendment Act of 2018. My name is Kimber Lovett-Menkiti, and I'm a Ward 4 resident and President of Sales for the Menkiti Group Real Estate Team, founded and headquartered in Ward 5 since 2004. Since this time, we have assisted more than 700 first-time homebuyers to achieve their dreams of home ownership in our city. I know that this evening you will hear a lot of data and numbers, and I wanted to briefly share with you my experience as a private citizen. In 2006, when I first transitioned from the nonprofit sector to work in our family business, I had the opportunity to participate in a number of evening and weekend community meetings and provide input in the small area plan process. I was grateful for the opportunity to participate actively in the planning for the future of our neighborhoods while also gaining an understanding of the growing needs for our city. A few years later, I had the opportunity to have a front seat in the community engagement process as our business partnered with 2 other local businesses in the 901 Monroe project in Brooklyn. I attended countless meetings and planning sessions as the project was discussed, debated, and adjusted based on community input. One of the meetings in particular stands out for me. I had just given birth to my second son, and at just 2 weeks old, he attended his first community meeting. We were starting his lesson in civic engagement early. The Brooklyn Civic Association was holding the final community vote on the project, and I knew it was important to again have my voice as a Ward 5 resident heard. I squeezed into a packed, hot room at Turkey Thicket with Carter strapped to my chest and listened as people shared their views and participated in this final vote, where the community voted to join the local ANC and support the 901 Monroe project. In the months that followed, the Zoning Commission voted unanimously, 5-0 to approve the project, and we were all excited to see this project in our community move forward, transforming land located directly across from a metro station, 3 stops from our nation's capital, to an active residential and commercial space. Little did we know that despite the rigorous process, the self-interest of a few would be able to freeze progress for many and tangle the project in litigation. Despite this robust civic engagement, feedback, and project adjustments, the project remains frozen today. This project and many others represent 5,000 units of housing, including more than 500 affordable units that have been unable to move forward to completion and contribute to narrowing the growing housing gap in our city. As much as I, like many of those who speak in opposition today, would like to freeze time and keep our city just as it was 10 years ago or even today, it is just not possible. This 2-week-old from that community meeting is now an artistic, talkative, vibrant 6-year-old who attends a newly renovated DC public school, a renovation in much made possible based on the significant growth of our city. We look to you as our city leaders to offer the steady and logical hand so that Carter and his classmates will be proud to call our community home for years to come.
Thank you. I mispronounced your name when I brought you up.
Parisa Norouzi.
Oh, Norouzi. Okay, I didn't. Okay, there we go. Please.
Today is Nowruz, actually. It's our New Year, Iranian New Year today, first day of spring. Okay, I'm Parisa Norouzi, Director of Empower DC, and I am here to urge you to reject the proposed changes to the framework element of the comprehensive plan as presented by the Office of Planning, and instead to really look at strengthening the comprehensive plan to make sure that it's enforceable, that it's carried out, that many of its really good recommendations become mandatory. I want to first note that we formed the DC Grassroots Planning Coalition a year ago to engage residents around this. We've worked with over 300 residents from all over the city, and we're looking at this through the lens of racial justice, economic justice, environmental justice. We want to see policies that help to decrease the wealth gap in our city, that help to stop the displacement of Black residents in particular. And we are not anti-development. We are pro-community development. And that is something that we don't see very much at all in our city, is true community development. But there's a lot of stuff in the comp plan that, if followed and implemented, would represent true community development, like land trusts, like preserving affordable retail space, like preserving public housing, et cetera. I want it to be very clear that the zoning process is not a level playing field. I don't know if you've participated in these hearings and this process, but it's very much set up for developers with land use attorneys to navigate. When residents try to engage in that process, it is very difficult. And most people don't even know that it's happening. Even the ANCs are not really equipped to really fully use their power in that situation. You know, if you really want to make it fair, then give the residents land use attorneys as well to navigate that process, because that's what developers have when they come to that table.
I'm going to ask that we please minimize outbursts, and by minimize, please don't have outbursts.
Thanks.
Please continue.
We're not against necessarily extra density either, but these proposed changes don't link that whatsoever to one new unit of affordable housing. So it's very interesting how the whole affordable housing language is being co-opted and used as a smokescreen to push through amendments that are the wish list of developers to stave off appeals which are not brought by people from outside. There's just a couple of people who know the process and assist residents who actually have standing, who live in those areas, who are concerned about some of the policies not being followed. So for instance, the court has now affirmed that zoning should and must look at the impact of development on gentrification and displacement of the surrounding area. And that's one of the rulings that came down. First and foremost, also, these projects are not resulting in a lot of truly affordable housing. We're talking about studio apartments that are $1,200 a month. We're not talking about deeply affordable housing for families and that is permanently affordable. And that's what we need to do to strengthen the plan.
Thank you very much. Mr. Lester?
Yes. Good evening. My name is Jack Lester.
Mr. Lester?
Yes. Good evening. My name is Jack Lester. My family and I have lived in the district for 17 years. I'm also a partner with EYA, a local development company. And I intended to describe kind of our 17-year experience on Capitol Hill and in the Navy Yard and all the development that's occurred and, candidly, the changing character of that neighborhood. For our family, it's been a dramatic, positive change. Professionally, I've been really pleased to be a part of that. Our company developed over 300 units of mixed income in a national model for doing integrated mixed income at Capitol Quarter, where it's a third market rate, a third workforce, and a third public housing. Capitol Quarter is this great, vibrant, diverse, inclusive community, and we've seen that as our family has seen that over these 17 years. But I wanted to come back to an earlier discussion that around Tacoma, council member, that you raised. And I think you got right to the heart of the issue when you asked the panelists which is more important, housing, and particularly affordable housing, or community character. And I would say, and I think the panelists kind of agree, they're both important. Maybe one's number one, one's number two for a different group. But I wanted to speak specifically about Tacoma. In 1999, WMATA chose to seek a developer for the surface parking lot. It's the only surface parking lot in the system in DC, WMATA system. They selected EYA. We went through a community small area plan process. A plan was approved for 95 townhomes in 2003. Community was, some in the community opposed that because they felt, not unreasonably, that it wasn't maximizing the resource, the expensive infrastructure of the metro, and we may not have had the term back then, but it certainly wasn't smart growth. We went back, revised our plan, came back with a multifamily plan that's on a smaller footprint, and we're hearing the argument that it's now out of character. So before the one was in character, but wasn't smart growth, this one is out of character. Presumably it is smart growth. I wouldn't begrudge the folks having different opinions on the same project. What I think is the issue here is on these questions of judgment, whose judgment do we rely on? Community members, ANC, and ultimately the Zoning Commission, or is it federal judges? I believe the Zoning Commission should weigh the benefits and the impacts of proposed developments based upon the priorities of the comp plan, and then they make the call. I support strengthening the process through the legislation and not ceding the hard-won rights of this district to the federal judges. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councilmember Bonds, do you have questions for this panel?
No, I do not. I'm too interested in getting to at least number 200. Thank you.
I am as well. So we will keep